Good evening and welcome back, my friends. It is I, Venessa, and I'm here tonight because, I have forgotten something very important. One of the motivators of this whole process was fear. I have to admit this. I need to say it out loud. Fear of situations that were beyond my control. Fear of being seen as something that I'm not if I were to express my belief in what I deserve or what I feel is the right thing to do in that moment or in that situation. Okay, so that probably doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm going to say this. When I grew up, my situation was such that the child that I was given some downloaded information which got interpreted as my being was of no worth. The needs of my being were of no value, no concern. Having my natural instinct to feel connected, to care about, to support and encourage, twisted and used against me, and to never have that reciprocated, and specifically by what at the time were my parents, my guardians, those that were responsible for my welfare, that I now understand, are just like me, on the same journey, all working towards heading towards the same place. But at the time, as a child, that left a fear inside of me that when I would speak up for myself, or speak up for myself specifically, I found it very challenging because I instinctively would go back to this. I can't say it's a voice, but maybe it's like a belief. Maybe there's images that show up of times in my life when I have, and as a child, tried to speak up for what I believed in my heart was the right thing to do, only to be squashed or crushed or dismissed at the best of times. I never realized that in order to cope with that, I hid behind isolation and anger. That's really weird to think that I was turning into that curmudgeon-y hermit in your neighborhood that would be yelling, "Get off my lawn!" Literally. Morphing into a caricature because of my fear. I could in a heartbeat. Now, on the other hand, without hesitation, rush to aid or help somebody else in danger or threatened or anything, or just normal neighborly needs. I I'm helpful and will do what I can. But like, still inside, I felt detached. I felt unable to let my walls down. I felt unwilling to allow myself to be myself and to express myself. And in the act of those things that I just said, as a result, I was basically imprisoned in my own life. I imprisoned myself. I developed agoraphobia, and if you don't know what that is, that's a condition where you are more or less afraid of what could be considered crowds, but also open spaces or places where you just don't feel like you're safe and that you have an exit route when you need to exit. So I think that for sure agoraphobia is related to anxiety. I realize that fear was what brought me on this journey, this spiritual journey. And then I go and I forget. And then I wonder why I'm not feeling like I'm moving forward. I'm gaining knowledge, but I don't feel like I'm experiencing and benefiting from what this knowledge has for me. And I realize it's because now fear is where the healing lies. I'm not on this path to find ways to avoid the fear or to avoid feeling the fear. In fact, what I believe, I am coming to believe, is that that's exactly what I'm here to do. That everything that I'm afraid to do is exactly what I need to be doing. And it's not an entirely new concept, and yet it feels like it is, because I actually have examples of when I've acted that out and a world of opportunity. It's like my whole trajectory veered off into a new direction. One particular example was where I live at. There is maintenance management, people that do repair work and all that stuff. There was a situation with a neighbor with a hoarding problem and cats. And for whatever reason, they just didn't want to listen to me and the complaints that I was putting in and letting them know what was going on. But eventually, all that got found out. They fixed the situation, removed the tenants, but then there was a lot of repair work to do. But at that time, I had just had my son, and I believe he might have been a year and a half, I think, at the time, maybe 2. But the point is, the pivotal moment for me was when they started doing work, and my son was born highly energetic, never wants to nap, always alert, always aware, always taking everything in, never really got a break. Nap times were really crucial, and we had to work really hard to get nap time to work, me and my daughter. And when the construction or the repairs or the renovations began next door, It was insane. It was nonstop all day, all night, and this was going to go on for months. I hadn't received any sort of notification, warning, um, just, hello, this is what's going to be happening. Nothing to that effect. It was so upsetting that I thought I was going to have a breakdown because he couldn't nap. He was upset. All of our schedules were off. I was at that point still getting no sleep, up multiple times a night, breastfeeding. I was a new mother. Was pretty much doing everything on my own. I was exhausted. I was isolated. I was overwhelmed. I didn't know what to do, but I remember that the anguish that I was going through had me so twisted that I had to surrender and be like, okay, there's no way that I was terrified. I had to address the situation. I had to do something. And I didn't know if what I did was going to make a difference or not in the end. And so I could, put myself through all this vibrational agony and stress, to confront the management, to speak about the situation, not knowing if it would go my way or what would happen, or if it could go badly for me. But I desperately needed it to work. So I conjured up this concept that I had overheard from an individual on the internet, that was giving lectures. It was just a phrase that really stuck with me. Slaying your dragons. And so I considered in this instance, wow, I actually have a dragon. This is my dragon to slay. I saw it as a dragon to slay. And I thought, okay, well, I like heroes. The heroes slay dragons, though I love dragons, but metaphorically, what if I was my own hero and I slayed this dragon and I didn't be the victim and wait for someone to slay it for me? What if I just tried to do it myself? So I did it. So I made a point to address the issue, speak. And I remember it was so hard. My mouth was dry. My heart was racing. My hands were shaking. I was holding my son in my arms, and I had asked him to come see me, so he came to my door, which is where we spoke at. And I told him about my situation of my son needing to sleep, the noise, the music of the workers throughout the day. I let him know how disruptive it was to me. I let him understand how it was affecting us as a family, how it was affecting my son. I asked him, could he do something about that? His initial reaction was instantly to sort of hide behind policy and, well, this is how it is, and, we don't have to do this, or we don't have to do whatever. And this haze came over me, and it's like I was an observer, and I surrendered to it. I had nothing to lose, I felt in the moment. I said, just go for it. So I did. And what I heard myself saying was, you mentioned that you have a wife and that you have a child. And I said, you understand as a new father what your wife has to go through. And I said, and whether or not you have a daycare already or you don't, I said, just imagine your situation if construction work started next door, attached to your home, when your wife was at home dealing with your 1.5-year-old, 2-year-old child and nobody notified her, and she had no power or say. Would you not wish that you had the power to do something to help her? Would you want that to happen to her? And I looked him right in his eyes, and he looked me in my eyes, and he's like, listen, okay, so I can't guarantee you anything. And he's like, no, I wouldn't. I said, well, you are you can make all the difference here. You have the power. And I know that you don't have to listen to me, but I'm asking you to please, on my behalf, at least try to do something. And he then proceeded to ask me, well, what is it that you need? And I'm like, well, the noise, the nap time. And again, he was a little bit resistant. He sort of tried to backpedal a little bit, make up reasons why he couldn't inconvenience his workers. They had to get work done. There was like a time schedule or something like that. And I remember that I just said, listen, I understand that you have to do what you have to do. And in the end, the decision is up to you. And I said, but I have to do what I have to do. And I said, and I've come a long way. It's been a tough journey. I am not the person that I used to be. And I've learned that if anything matters in this life, it is to do right by my son. And I intend to do that today. I'm standing here asking you for my son, not for myself, for my son, can you please do something about the noise? He left, said he would see what he could do. And I think he was back within an hour, maybe not even, to tell me that he spoke to them and they were willing to. Oh yeah, he asked me what time did my son nap, and I told him that my son usually went for a nap at 2 o'clock and slept until about 4. But I guess that was like a problem or something. So we compromised, and so I started to put my son for a nap earlier, but at least it was a guaranteed stretch of time where he told the workers, always go for a break during this time, and go for longer than usual. So he encouraged the workers to take a much longer break that would last an hour and a half at least, so that my son could at least get an hour and a half of a nap every day. And could they also try to keep all noise to a minimum? He said that they agreed. I thanked him, and he said that, how did he say it? He said, he was shaking his head. And he said, I don't know. I don't know. How did he, I just wish, I don't want to quote right now at this time. I can't do it. But the point is that something that was very important that I could have never done in the past, I did. That was just one example of how, for the next duration of the next 6 months that they were working, or however long that was, my son was able to nap, and they kept their word, within reason. And that was a big thing. It was a big thing for me. I saw the result of my effort. I saw what could happen through the fear. And I remembered all the times that I had turned away from those moments when I should have faced my fear. And it made me wonder about all the opportunities and all the things that could have gone differently had I had faced my fears sooner. And leads to then, I guess from now on, I need to start facing my fears. I was able to get renovations on my unit, which updated my house from something back in the 1960s, I think, up to modern times. Was 2018, I think, 19. So my whole house was redone pretty much, and it was an amazing feeling, and it was of no cost to me, not a cent. And I got to stay in a hotel for like 3 weeks, almost a month, all my meals paid for. And we were allowed to come by every day because I had animals and to take care of them. So, point I'm getting back to is that how did I forget to go for what I'm afraid of? That within that fear lies what I'm looking for. That whatever it is that I'm seeking, the leveling up, the breakthrough, that is going to come from being aware of me hiding or backing out, like what I'm legitimately afraid of, and having that conversation with myself, honestly, about the thing that I'm afraid of, why I'm afraid of it, and apply everything that I have been learning and know that that fear is there to guide me. And that once I understand that I chose those as leveling up, boop, 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 options, and that I chose that knowing that no matter what happened, I would level up, I would move forward. It would turn out the way I want it and better. So I wanted to just make this, because I don't know if anybody else might be where I'm at or experiencing something similar. Maybe fear is a thing for you. Maybe it's not. That's cool. But I was definitely identifying with my physical material self in the story of Venessa, and I fully believed that I was brought into existence not of my free will and into a situation where I was victimized continuously, and I carried that story on into adulthood, and it tainted everything. And my journey has been finding myself through years of being lost and isolated and separated and feeling victimized and unloved and unwanted and unheard and uncared for. To come to here, to this place, this now, to this now, full of relief, to know the truth behind all of it, that I've always been loved, that I've always belonged, that I can't not ever not belong, that I'm here because I chose to be here, that there's nothing that I have to fear, and there's nothing that will step into my path that I can't handle, because everything that is happening in my life is happening for a reason, and that the best mindset that serves me is that when something is happening and it feels really uncomfortable, really scary, really stressful, makes me angry, frustrated, not why is this happening to me, but what can I learn from this? What am I supposed to be learning from this? What does my higher self want me to hear, to see right now? Learn to look at it like that. Separate myself from the moment. The moment's not real. The moment is an act or a play. I mean, one that has consequences, but ultimately, it's like, to me, a video game that when it's over, you go back to being yourself and you go live your life. This is a little bit different in that, like, you don't start playing a video game and instantly forget who you are and become the character. But I imagine if they ever invented that, people would be all over it. So, yeah. I could see me choosing to play a video game called Life if I were a spirit. And then I'd be like, oh, yeah, I could do that. Oh, I could totally do that. Oh, yeah. I'm a being of light and love. I'm possessed of infinite energy. There's nothing I can't do. And then I get down here and I forget who I am. And I start believing that I'm this meat, blood, veins, tissue, skin, teeth, hair, and brain. That somehow I'm a me that thinks and looks around and has thoughts, and it all exists inside of this dome right here. That's what I thought. Instead of maybe that what's inside of this dome is just a receiver. And I am not this. I'm not this body. I'm not this person. Not my essence. My essence is so much more. So it's not to say that I am not me, but it is to say that this is only but a small, tiny aspect of my whole multifaceted being. And that I am totally 100% capable of everything I have set for myself. And that's what I wanted to say today. And that you can too. You totally can do all of the things that you set in your path, no matter how impossible they feel. It's never too late to turn your trajectory around by just changing your perspective. Be gentle with yourself. Don't stress about the years you've lost. There's no point. You can't get them back. There's only now. There's only now. And now. What are you going to do right now? How are you going to feel right now for the rest of your nows? Now that you know, now it begins. Now you can start listening. Now you can start looking. Now you can start paying attention. Now we all can start to do that. And hopefully we all are blessed with inner intuition that will guide us to the right people, places, situations, feelings that are at the cusp of enlightenment or a level up. And may we all have faith and believe in ourselves and rise to the occasion and slay that metaphorical dragon. We don't slay real dragons. And watch the treasure that unfolds in your life that is more, I guarantee you, more than you ever imagined. Thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful night, my fellow seekers.